Honey buns, and what is up? I brought these jeans from Fashion Nova and they were a little bit too small and I couldn't return them, so let's turn them into a corset today. Grab your scissors and head down to the honey pot. Honey buns, if you are new here, everything you're going to need is going to be listed in the description box below. But all you're going to need is about a yard of fabric, your apparel, boning, grommets, interlocking fabric, and don't forget your ribbon and scissors and pins. The first thing I like to do when I'm revamping apparel is basically to open the apparel all the way up to get as much use of the fabric that I can. So I started at the crotch area, just going up, and then I'm going to go down both sides of the legs. Like I say, you just want everything open and basically all out so you can use all the fabric that this has to offer, okay? After that, we are going to be taking our fabric that's going to go on the inside, which is going to be that white. Now, this is more so of a stiff fabric. As you can tell here, the jeans are flimsy and light and stretchy. I was never getting in these, child. I was never getting in them. But you know what? That's okay. So what we're going to do here is we are going to be taking the stiff fabric and cutting about half a yard off of it. It's already folded over, which makes it really easier when we do get ready to cut. So I'm just going to cut that and separate it so we can get ready for the next step. Okay, now I'm getting ready to cut my pattern. A lot of time, majority of the times when you're cutting, you always want to cut on a fold. It makes it much easier when you're cutting pieces. You don't want to have to always, oh, I got to cut one piece, I got to cut the second piece. No, especially for this. When it comes to the corset, you basically need 4 pieces of each piece, okay? And as we go on, you'll figure out, oh my gosh, a corset has like about 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces to piece together to put it together. So do the math. I'm not finna do that right now. My brain ain't working that hard, honey. But you are gonna need basically 4 pieces for each, because you need 2 pieces for the front and you need 2 pieces for the inside, basically to mirror each other. Okay, so I cut this first piece on a fold, and I'm just going to do this piece. Like I said, you need 4 pieces each. I'm going to do it on the fold for this white. Now, the white is going to be inside. And also, too, just keep in mind when you're doing a corset, and now that I've learned from the times I've done it before, you always want your outside fabric, your front fabric, to always match your inside back fabric, okay? So I'm using stretchy fabric right now up against more so of a stiff fabric. And that's okay, because I mean, I'm wearing it and that's what I had at the time, but it just makes it a little bit more easier. I just use this because, you know, I wasn't finna return the pins, and that's okay. So I'm just gonna put my 4 pieces to the side for the first piece, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of the pieces out. So as you can see here, I've cut the rest of the pieces out. And like I said, I did this for the front. I did this for the inside. But also, like I mentioned before, the interlocking. I don't know where the footage went for the interlocking, but if I could find it, I'll try to insert it somewhere else. But you're going to need to cut the interlocking fabric too, which you can see is that clear white piece on top of the 3rd piece to the left here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put everything together. Now, depending on where you got your corset pattern from, the directions are literally going to be there. They are going to tell you the side seams need to match up with this seam or the back seam, X, Y, and Z, Z, Y, and X. And a lot of times the patterns have numbers on them in letters. So this is what my pattern concluded, putting everything together. After that, what you're going to do is get ready to sew. Yes! Okay. So when you are getting ready to sew, you are going to take your fabric and face right sides on top of each other. As you just saw me, they're doing. The right side is the good side. And you're just going to put that on top of the other piece. Now you notice your pieces have a little bit of curvature in them. They're not all just straight. So keep that in mind when you are sewing. You need to follow the design that it has for you, the structure of the pattern, okay? So we're going to do this for the front. We're going to do this for the inside with our white. And we're also going to do this for the interlocking. But as you notice as we go on, I didn't do that for the interlocking because it was too much going on. This was at nighttime, okay? So it's totally fine if you want to take the interlocking because the pieces match up together and place them on the fabric and iron them down, which I do, which I will show you later on. Now that we've got everything pinned together, you're going to take your fabric and begin to sew each piece one by one. Okay, and this is what it should look like. So you're going to follow suit and do that for the rest. And then you're also going to do that for the white and the interlocking. And then we're going to come back. After you're done, yes, okay, this is what it should look like. And I forgot to mention there's no padding in this corset. If y'all want a tutorial on how to put padding in the next corset, I wouldn't mind to do that. But after we sew everything together, this is how it should come out looking. Now, like I mentioned before, you can sew your interlock together and then iron it down. It has to be ironed, no matter how you flip it. It has to be ironed on the fabric. Now, with your interlocking, since I did not sew mine together and iron it down, I'm just going to place the pieces where it goes inside and iron it down one by one. I've always done my interlocking like this, and this has always been kind of easier and easiest for me. I know that may seem backwards to some people, but that worked for me. So the shiny side, you are going to place it face down and it will stick. After that, as you can see, the interlocking is already on the fabric. You can either do this two ways. You can sew around the hem, as I'm showing you with my finger, with bias tape. Or you can sew plainly and then put some bias tape on there. Or you can sew, which is the way that I'm doing, sides facing each other and then flip it over. So here's what I mean. I am going to sew it on top and around. Starting at the corner, okay? I'm showing you this direction, and then we're going to flip it over after. So you're going to just sew like I had just shown you there, and we're going to flip it over after. So after I flipped it over after, I'm just going to go ahead and iron the top portion. I'm not going to iron the whole thing down because remember, we have the interlocking in there and we don't want it to fuse with also the backing because we have to put our casings in there. So I'm just going to iron around to give it more so of a sharpness and just, you know, a neat, calm, cool, collective look. After that, we are going to now make our casings. So as you can see here, where we have that seam at along the front, where we connected our pieces, that is where you are going to make your casing so you can slip your boning in. And just a tip, when you do your boning, you are not going to measure it out the whole entire Why did I stop like that? Oh my gosh. You're not going to measure it out the whole, what is the word I'm looking for? The whole length. You're going to cut at least ½ an inch off, as you can see me here doing, because you don't want that sticking on your side. You don't want that sticking in your waist or anything like that. And if you like me, don't store your bone in a circle like that, okay? But if you do, you can iron it down and make it flat. Now, here is what I mean with the casing. Now, as you can see here, I messed up a little bit because, like I said, it was nighttime and, you know, sometimes whoop whoop. But those 2 lines right there that you see, that is your casing. That is really supposed to be 1 line on the other side of the seam, but it's totally okay. I'm going to bust the seams and redo this again, but that is your casing, okay? Now, after you do that, right, because your seam really should be in the middle of these 2 lines, as you can see here, which I'm going to fix, you are going to take that boning and you're going to slip it in the casing. And this casing is going to be around each and every seam that you sewed in the beginning. Remember when we sewed it together, those pieces together to make the whole corset? That is what I mean by that seam line. Now, I know I mentioned before bias tape, but because I don't have any bias tape, I am going to hem the bottom of my corset. So I'm just folding over, pinning, and then I'm going to sew across that. And this is only because I don't have bias tape. If you have bias tape, there's a different way to do that. After I sew, which you can see on this black line, now I'm going to get ready to do my grommets. There are 2 sizes in grommets, okay? Keep that in mind. And you can also use a hammer and or a grommet tool to basically pin them together. And I'm getting ready to show you how. You see these 2 pieces. I know they may look the same, but they're totally 2 different. One is bigger, one is smaller. One goes on top of the other. It really doesn't matter too much, but one goes on top of the other. After you put it on top of the other, you are going to squeeze them together. You should almost hear kind of like a popping sound. If you're using a grommet tool, you'll actually feel it with the grommet tool, okay? Or if you're using a hammer, but I'm using my grommet tool, which really may be the best source option. Now, before we get into putting the grommets on, just so y'all can see what it looks like, we are going to figure out where to put the grommets. So I'm going 2 inches in. And I realized this after because I did 1.5 first, but you need to go like 2 inches in from the outside and make your points. You are going to, and I'm using a Sharpie because I'm going to basically open the seam up, well, open this up and put the grommets in. So you ain't really going to see that Sharpie, okay? That's fine. But you are going to make them about 1.5 to 2 inches, really 2 inches or so away from each other. Between 1.5 and 2 inches, depending on how big your grommets are as well. After that, I'm going to take my seam ripper and I'm just going to bust the opening that I think is going to allow my grommets to go in there. Okay? Oop. I'm going to take one grommet and put it on the front. And then as you can see here, it has the hole. It went through the back. And then I'm going to take the other one and put it on top. And I'm just going to hold it like that because sometimes it can slip out. And I'm just showing y'all real quick. And now I'm going to take my grommet tool and I'm going to fuse it. Don't that look good? Oh my goodness. Yes. So after that, like I said, you are going to fold over just that outer side. Now, some people do this differently. I just did it that way. You're just going to fold it over and sew it down. Now, you're going to take your ribbon and you are literally going to lace it up. Some people lace it up from the inside with the ribbon facing outward, and some people lace it up from the outside with the lace facing inward. And I did that at first, and then I got confused. I confused my own self, but then I decided to do the ribbon on the outside input. So it can be on this side. But either way, it still looks cute. I'm just going to line this up and make the ribbons. And baby, this is how it should come out. Now, if you honey buns want any more tutorials and different tutorials in X, Y, Z, Z, Y, and X, y'all already know what to do. Comment, subscribe, and like. See you honey buns next week on HoneyBuntv. Mwah.